This is a CBS News Special Report. I'm Jeff Glor, reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York. Good afternoon. North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile today in continuing defiance of the United States. And that brought President Trump into the Roosevelt Room at the White House to make a statement. He also talked about a political feud he's having with the Democratic leaders of Congress. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi abruptly canceled what was supposed to be a bipartisan meeting at the White House today on a deal to fund the government and head off a shutdown. They were angry over a tweet from the president earlier, criticizing them, referring to them as Chuck and Nancy, and talking about illegal immigrants in the president's words. Here was the president just a few minutes ago.
Thank you very much. As you probably have heard, and some of you have reported, a missile was launched a little while ago from North Korea. I will only tell you that we will take care of it. We have General Mattis in the room with us, and we've had a long discussion on it. It is a situation that we will handle. With that being said, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi did not show up for our meeting today. I'm not really that surprised. We have a lot of differences. They're weak on crime. They're weak on illegal immigration. They want the illegal folks to come pouring into our border, and a lot of problems are being caused, although we've stopped it to a large extent, as much as you can without the wall, which we're going to get. They, before this meeting and before this missile launch, they've been weak on military in terms of spending. Very hard to get for military. They want it for a lot of other things, but the military is always secondary to them. The military, to me, is number one. We won't be here without our powerful military, and we're building it up stronger, bigger, better than ever before, and General Mattis can testify to that. And the other thing, they want tax increases, and we want major tax decreases. So they decided not to show up. They've been all talk, and they've been no action, and now it's even worse. Now it's not even talk. So they're not showing up for the meeting. I will say this, in light of the missile launch, probably they'll be here fairly quickly, or at least discussions will start taking place fairly quickly. I think that we're in a very good position in terms of the meeting we just had over at the Capitol with the Republican senators. It was outstanding. I think we have tremendous support. I was just informed by Mitch that we had a unanimous vote from the Republican side, at least. We had a unanimous vote on the tax bill, and it goes now the next step, and I think we're going to get it passed. I think it's going to pass, and it's going to be very popular. It's going to have lots of adjustments before it ends, but the end result would be a very, very massive, the largest in the history of our country, tax cut, and lots of good things are going to happen, including the bringing back to our country of, it probably will end up being over $4 trillion money offshore that's stagnant, that companies and they're just not able to bring it back. So I think it's going to be a number over $4 trillion. Corporate will be able to compete now against the world. If you look at China, if you look at so many other countries, you look at many of the countries, China's at 15%. They're lower than us. We're getting it down to a level that is either going to be lower or right in the ballpark so that we can compete much better with our companies, our great, great companies. And that means jobs, and it means lots of other things. I'm very happy to see that the consumer confidence level is just about the highest it's ever been. In fact, I don't want to make any mistakes in front of the press because you'll get me on it, but to the best of my knowledge, it's the highest it's ever been. Consumer confidence has been setting records. They have confidence in the people leading their country. And I will say that I think it's going to go better and better, and I do believe that this vote on taxes, which are really tax cuts and reform, is going to be very, very important. So we had a good day today. We had a phenomenal meeting with the Republican senators. We had, it was very special, that meeting. In many respects, I wish you could have been inside that room. It was very, very special. The camaraderie. It was somewhat of a love fest. They want to see it happen. They want to see it happen, not only for the Republican Party. I think much more importantly, they want to see it happen for the country, because they know how important it is. for us to compete and win. And with that, maybe we'll start with Paul Ryan to say a few words about where we stand with different things, and then I'll ask Mitch McConnell.
Okay, I'll just briefly say I think it's regrettable that our Democratic colleagues in leadership chose not to join us today. For a bill to become a law, Congress has to pass a bill and the President signs a bill. That means Congress and the White House always negotiate legislation. We have important work to do. We have big deadlines to meet. We have a military in need of our support, and that work needs to happen now. And I just think it's very regrettable that our Democratic colleagues in leadership chose to not participate, because we have to negotiate these bills to get this work done for the people we represent, and especially to help our military with these difficult situations we have. And I just hope that our friends in leadership on the other side of the aisle will choose to participate so we can get people's work done.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I would just add, I've been in this position under a couple of previous presidents. I can't recall ever turning down an opportunity to go down to the White House. As the Speaker mentioned, only one person in America can sign a bill into law, and that's the President of the United States. You cannot negotiate the year-end, the omnibus spending bill without the person who signs the bill in the room. So I think the Democratic leaders in the House and Senate need to understand the way the government works. And the administration has to be a part of the ultimate negotiation over what the spending level is going to be for the next year.
Well, we are very far apart because our views on crime and our views on immigration and the military, so many are different. But a lot of things have happened even over the last 2 hours with respect to the missile launch. We want our military funded, and we want it funded now. It's going to be bigger, better, stronger, it already is, than ever before. But we want to get going on that now. So that is a difference, in all fairness, from this morning when I told them that we're way, way far away. And with that, I may just have General Mattis say just a couple of words about what he has found out. General, do you want to say just a couple of little pieces of information?
Mr. President, Senator, Speaker, a little over 2.5 hours ago, North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile. It went higher, frankly, than any previous shots they've taken. It's a research and development effort on their part to continue building ballistic missiles that could threaten everywhere in the world, basically. And in response, the South Koreans have fired some pinpoint missiles out into the water to make certain North Korea understands that they could be taken under fire by our ally. But the bottom line is it's a continued effort to build a threat, a ballistic missile threat that endangers world peace, regional peace, and certainly the United States.
Thank you, General. And we will take care of that situation. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President, your basic approach to North Korea, these missile launches today, does it change anything about your basic approach to dealing with it?
Nothing changed. Nothing changed. We have a very serious approach, and nothing changed. We take it very seriously.
Do you believe there will be a government shutdown, Mr. President? And would you blame Democrats if that happens? Would you blame
If that
Democrats?
happens, I would absolutely blame the Democrats. If it happens, it's going to be over illegals pouring into the country, crime pouring into the country, no border wall, which everybody wants. I got elected partially because of a border wall. You look at the military, we want strong funding for the military. They don't. So many things. As an example, they want high taxes. We want cut taxes. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to reform. We're going to simplify. They want high taxes. We want low taxes. So there's a lot of big differences. So we'll see what happens as to shutdown. We'll see. But right now, things have changed over the last 2 hours because 2 hours ago a missile was launched. I think that will have a huge effect on Schumer and Pelosi. I think. We'll see. We're going to learn very soon. They should be calling immediately and say, we want to see you, but probably they won't because nothing to them is important other than raising taxes That's the only thing they like doing is raising taxes. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
All right, the President of the United States with an empty seat on either side of him talking taxes, a potential budget deal, and also North Korea. Let's talk about North Korea first. The first missile launch in 10 weeks. David Martin is at the Pentagon. David, tell me about this ICBM, if you could. If I'm seeing this correctly, it could have traveled 8,100 miles, which potentially could hit any part of the continental U.S.
Well, that's what a prominent outside expert is estimating. You heard Defense Secretary Mattis say it flew higher than any of their previous tests. It went about 2,500 miles up in the air. It was launched on this very high-angle trajectory, so it only covered about 600 miles over land and sea. But if it had been launched on a normal trajectory, the calculations by that outside expert say it basically could have reached anywhere in the United States. Now, this is the third test of an ICBM that North Korea has conducted. You heard Defense Secretary Mattis call it a research and development program, so he does not believe they yet have an operational ICBM. And most intelligence analysts in the administration believe that before North Korea can have an ICBM it can really count on, it has to test it at full intercontinental range by firing it out over the Pacific, just into the water, but at a range of 3,500 miles or greater to see if it can withstand the stress of intercontinental flight. So what we can say from what we know right now is North Korea has taken another step on its march toward developing an ICBM that can threaten the United States, but it has not taken the final step.
And the U.S. has tried shooting down these test ICBMs, at least, with varying degrees of success over the years.
Well, the last test that they conducted, which was in May, was against a mock ICBM of North Korean design. They had tried to mimic the North Korean missile design as closely as possible, and it successfully shot down that missile. But a defense is never going to bet on one interceptor missile killing one incoming nuclear warhead. They're going to fire multiple interceptor missiles at that incoming warhead to try and increase the odds, because if you go just by the test record, it's about a 50-50 chance that you're going to hit it. So you need to improve your odds by firing multiple interceptors.
All right, David Martin, thank you very much. To Major Garrett now at the White House. Major, talk, if you could, about the theatrics of what we just saw with the empty seats for Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi on either side of the president.
Well, that choreography speaks for itself, Jeff, and the points that the president was making certainly Democrats would disagree with, and are sort of at the heart of the reason Democrats didn't show up in the first place, because they don't believe the president is putting together an honest and straightforward negotiating posture over many items overhanging this last year on the first calendar year of the Trump presidency: avoiding a government shutdown, dealing with the so-called dreamers, those children brought into the country by parents without proper documentation, but who have been in this country a good long while. Democrats disagree vehemently with the president's characterization that they are illegals, and that the Democrats want to bring more illegal aliens into the United States and concomitant crime with them. They just simply disagree with that orientation the president has taken to this policy dispute, one of the reasons they didn't show up. And when the president talked about boosting military spending, he really needs to get an agreement with Democrats, because if he doesn't, the president cannot obtain the large increase in military spending that he has proposed and the Republican Congress has passed. Why? Because there is an existing law that caps defense and non-defense spending. And unless you change that law to raise the amount the United States spends on military spending, it has to stay within current caps. The president can only achieve that by negotiating with Democrats and Republicans. That's one of the main issues that the president is focusing on, but without Democrats participating, it makes it all the more difficult.
Major Garrett at the White House, thank you very much. We just watched the President of the United States address taxes and a potential budget deal. There was a meeting today that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer did not attend, and The White House made great hay of that this afternoon. There was also a missile launch from North Korea, an intercontinental ballistic missile that could have potentially traveled, we are told, 8,100 miles, long enough to hit any part of the continental U.S. More about all of this on your local news on the CBS station, on our 24-hour streaming news network, CBSN, and right here tonight on the CBS Evening News. I'm Jeff Glor, CBS News in New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.